Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie Friedlander, and I'm your host for Motherhood Unlimited, the #1 summit for moms who want it all. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. It is our mission to take the limits off motherhood and empower moms to have it all for their own unique and vibrant life. We believe that when moms learn to create where, who, and how they want to be on this mom life adventure, that their overall happiness and life satisfaction increases, and they become inspired and inspirational for their children and each other. Today we are talking about 6 steps to overcoming overwhelm. I know I could use that right now. So our expert is Justine Arian. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Justine.
Valerie, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I love what you're doing with the summit.
Awesome. Well, let me first start off by telling everyone a little bit about you. And I invited Justine here to share with you because of her work helping moms to connect deeply to themselves so that they can show up for their children and the world in a uniquely powerful way. And Justine is a women's transformation coach, an award-winning speaker and best-selling co-author who is fiercely committed to inspiring purpose-driven moms to gain the clarity and confidence they need to be powerful both as moms and change makers so that they can fulfill their highest potential and purpose. She is the creator of Finding Me, Impacting We, a life-changing annual women's empowerment event. She leads the Awakening Women of SoCal meetup and is the founder of the Multi-Passionate Moms Club, a coaching community to support women who are passionate about being good moms and making a difference while owning their personal power. Justine lives in Southern California with her partner Ethan and their 4 children, and you can connect with her at justinearian.com. So thank you again. It is a pleasure to have you. So let's start by having you tell us a little bit about how your journey has been to taking the limits off of motherhood.
Okay, well, it probably started with the birth of, or even before the birth of my first child, which was in 2004. So my daughter's 11 now. And that journey in and of itself, like becoming pregnant and then trying to figure out what I wanted for my birth experience, what I wanted that to look like, was really eye-opening. And it was really, giving birth was so transformational for me. And I really feel like the day I gave birth to my daughter was the day I gave birth to myself and my purpose. And it was very cool. And I said, and at that time I was already trained as a life coach. And I said, I really need to work with other women in helping them become empowered through their own birth experiences, whatever that ends up looking like for them. And, to really consciously go through this experience. And I also believe that when we become mothers, that we have a new purpose and a new motivation and a new inspiration for becoming better in who we are, wanting to better ourselves, and, B, in really setting an example for our child of how we're all here to make a difference, how we're here to be part of something greater than ourselves, and how we're here to really connect to others and make the world a better place. And I think we get inspired and motivated more to do that after having children. I know I did. So that is sort of, my path and how I started becoming a mother and with my coaching practice. And I became a childbirth educator and a birth doula. And then I moved on. I had another child, my son, who's now 8. And he is who showed me that, wow, this is not so easy. Like, this is, 2 children, 2 times the work, which is really like 4 times the work. And I think it multiplies each time. And, and I was working down at the port at the time. I was starting my coaching business. In a relationship, and I'm raising 2 children, and I'm thinking, man, this is hard. This is really hard. And I was feeling depleted and drained and out of balance. And, so I figured, well, if I'm feeling this way, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And with my coaching background and my skills and training that I had, I said, I can really help other women. And I became a personal renewal group facilitator for moms, and, just helping women bring self-care back into the mix to really bring more balance. And I believe that we're never fully balanced, like there's always something we can put our attention on that's more important than another thing at any given time. And so we can have the sense or the feeling that we're balanced when we're really connected to our passions, to our values, to our true self. Then we can feel more balanced. But a lot of the times we're just going through life trying to get along, trying to get by and survive as moms, as new moms, and then as entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit about, how I came to where I am. And now I primarily work with moms who are multi-passionate moms, I call them, and I have the Multi-Passionate Moms Club, which is launching soon. I'm so excited about that. But it's really to bring a community of women together to support and uplift each other in really standing in their power, really owning who they are at the core and fulfilling on their potential so that they can make the difference they're here to make, to really fulfill on their life purpose and give back and still be a good mom, still be really connected to their children. It's so important for me. And because of that experience personally, and seeing the need for so many other moms, I, decided to start this Multi-Passionate Moms Club. And that's where I am right now. So thank you for asking the question and letting me share a little bit about my personal journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that resonates so much with me. And I think a lot of moms, I definitely found that becoming a mother led me to really needing to be connected. Like I was kind of going through tolerating a lot of stuff. Yeah. And then becoming a mom, it just, all the stuff that I was tolerating exploded. It was just like too much to tolerate. I couldn't tolerate anymore. And it was like, well, what does that now look like? So I love that you said that, is because it is true. I was ready to say, okay, why am I here? What am I here doing? Because it's so critical. So I love that you said that. And I also love what you said about balance, because I think you actually helped shift it for me just now thinking about it, because I've not been a fan of that word. I use it, but I'm not a fan of it. And it's like, it's me being centered. Everything else doesn't have to be like, like scales or anything. It can be like the lava lamp or whatever, as long as I'm centered. It's me being able to kind of have everything moving around me. That is what that sense of balance, that in-tuneness or whatever. So I love that you said that. So tell us a little bit about, how do we get to that space where we can have this multi-passionate existence? Because it feels like when you're juggling all of these things, it's overwhelming. When I think about, and I know so many moms I've talked to, they're thinking about all the things. And it's like, I want all the things, but it's overwhelming. And so a long time, I would just be, okay, I just have to put one foot in front of the other. How do we break out of that?
Yeah. So, oftentimes we feel like we're just in survival mode. And I think there's different seasons. And I also think, with raising children, there's a time to really focus on our children. And then there's a time when our children don't need us as much, and we can then focus on ourselves again. And I think usually around the 3-year mark is what I've noticed for most people, is when your child turns 3, is when you feel like you have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more space to pursue, your own interests, and to look at yourself again and go, wow, who am I now? Who am I and what's important to me now? And so I think that, we have to be really intentional about what stage we're in, what season we're in. And it's okay. Like, if you're a new mom, your job is to focus on your child. Your job is to bond and connect with your child. And your job is to take care of yourself in the process. And that's it. That is your job in the beginning. And we're learning and trying to figure out the way. And we don't know when we have a child exactly what to do or how to raise this child, and we're all figuring it out as we go. And so we have to be really gentle and compassionate with ourselves. We have to be patient and just say, hey, it's not going to look perfect, and I'm not going to be able to do all the things I did before I was a mom. I'm going to have to let some of that go so that I can really focus on what's most important right now, which is my child, right? And then as our children grow and we can begin to take on more, then we have to really figure out, how can I manage still being a good mom and still being connected, but also I've got this burning desire inside of me to do something besides being a mom, to do something that, I was raised with the idea that we're here to make a contribution. We're here to make a difference. And so I've always believed that. And so I always question, okay, what is the difference that I'm here to make? What is that thing for me? And I know so many women have that same question. And so there's a time when our children are old enough where we can begin to think about that more and reflect on, what am I here to do? And I think people sometimes get overwhelmed with the idea of, how do I do that? And also raise a child or children, right? So I'm going to share with you 6 steps that I have used and with myself and clients that I believe can help overcome the overwhelm. And it's so, I was saying it's so timely, like you were saying, and I also feel right now with shifting from summer to fall, and going back to school, it's kind of bittersweet because, I love the summer. I love the slowing down. I love not having an agenda. I love being able to spend more time with the kids. And I also don't get that much done in my business during the summer. So when they go back to school, I'm able to focus more on my business, which is great. And there's more structure, to the day. But, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. Okay, so my first step is, first suggestion basically for getting out of overwhelm is to say no, just to say no more often, right? So as women, we tend to be people pleasers. We, we want to be helpers. We like to help everybody. And oftentimes women have a hard time saying no when they're asked to do things. So if we can practice, and in order to say no, you have to get clear about what your yeses are, right? So, okay, so that's going to be my second step, which is stand for something. And in order to stand for something, you need to know what your values and priorities are. Mm-hmm. Right? So when we are influenced by other people's agendas, when we don't know what we stand for and we don't know what's important to us, and we're a people pleaser, then we fall into the trap of doing everything for everybody else, and then we feel depleted. We feel resentful and we feel unfulfilled. Like, I'm doing all these things and I'm running in circles, but what am I really doing that I'm loving? Mm-hmm. What am I doing that fills me up, that I really enjoy and that makes me feel like I'm contributing in a positive way, Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, it's like, get clear about what's important to you, what your values are. And values really are they are the things that we find most important. Like, each one, values are different for each person. And, you and I, Valerie, could both have, I'm sure we have some of the same values, as our top values. And for instance, one of my top is connection. And if I don't have a sense of connection with my children or with my partner, I feel alone. I feel off balance, I feel sad. And, just generally, I know that something is off and something is not right. So I can look at that and go, okay, what's going on with me? I'm feeling really disconnected right now. And so what can I do about that? right? And then I restore that connection, and then I feel great again, you know? And so that's how I know if one of my values is not being honored. It's because I'm feeling off, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling alone, or I'm feeling unfulfilled. And so those are clues for you and everybody to look at in your life, in all areas of your life, with your health, your relationships, your career, finances, anything. You know, if you're feeling off, look at your values and see, where are they missing? You know, another one is contribution. If I'm not contributing, I'm not doing something in some way that's making a difference, you know, I don't feel good. I feel off, right? So for you, you know, you would identify and I usually have people keep a list of their top 10 values so that they're really clear on what they are. And then they can easily see, wow, where is this missing in my life? In what areas is this missing? And how can I bring it into my life more completely, more fully? Okay, so I'll pause there for a second. Is that clear?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think anytime I feel like my values are being challenged, I feel cruddy. I just, you know, or if I'm neglecting them, and I'm so much more likely, I love what you said about, you know, when we are depleted and stuff, and how we feel. It's like, I also notice that when I'm depleted, when I've given and given and given, and then I'm depleted, then I start looking outside of myself for other things, like, why aren't they doing for me? Why is, you know, and of course my husband is probably one of the primary focuses of that. Like, I do all this stuff and why aren't you blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you know, I mean, I would hope that he, you know, a value for mine is family, but it's easy to project my values onto him.
Yes.
And remembering that, you know, my values are different. They're, and not all, in all cases, like you and I probably have similar values. He and I have similar values, but it's remembering that I need to honor my values, not him honor my values. I have to honor my values.
Yes, absolutely.
So I love that you're talking about that. So yeah, keep going.
I love it. And, you know, I think it's important in a relationship. I love that you brought that up about your husband, because, you know, his values may be a little bit different than yours. And so when you understand what his values are, his top values, and he understands yours, there's more compassion, right? You can come from a place of like, oh, okay, I get him now, or he gets you now more, and understand your needs, right? And so, and then you can make the choice to honor their value for something, you know, and they can make the choice to honor yours, right? And that's how a relationship ideally works. You know, it's not always perfect, but, you know.
No. but if I can know, you know, I mean, I think that's that first step, you know, of knowing what my values are and being willing to say no when saying yes would be saying no to myself.
Yes,
you know,
exactly. And, you know, and it's not selfish to say no and to really honor your values, because when you set those clear boundaries, it gives people something to identify with. It gives them, you know, sort of a, people want to know, you know, as our children, they want boundaries, they want structure, right? They want to know what
yeah.
And so, you know, it's the same thing with adults. I mean, we're no different. It's like, we need to know where our boundaries and limits are. And so it's up to each one of us to create those, you know, to create the boundary. And then if somebody doesn't like your boundary, that's their problem. You know, that is something that they need to reconcile or deal with or move on. And, you know, we don't need to take that on as, oh, they have a problem with my boundary, so I better change my boundary. No, you have a boundary that works for you. And if it doesn't work for you, then, you know, you can reassess and set a new boundary. They're not forever, and they're not, you know, end all be all.
I love to say, you know, it's boundaries, not walls. You know, you're not building a wall, you're setting, you know, this is a need for me. And maybe it's not always going to be a need for me, but right now it's a need for me, like you said about seasons.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, you know, I think that's one thing we can get better at is like, just getting really clear about our needs, right? Our values, our needs, setting boundaries, and just speaking up. You know, honestly, it's like we're so afraid to speak up because we fear what other people are going to think. And then we live in fear, and we live in this diminished place where our value isn't there. It's not seen, and it's not honored by us. And so other people can't honor it, you know? And so when we speak more our truth, and we speak what our needs are, then people can either say yes or they can say no, and that's their choice, you know? And we don't need to put all of our value or worth into what, you know, how they respond, right? So it's a good practice for all of us, is just to, you know, get that clarity first and then just begin to speak into it, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay. So then we've already touched on the third point, which is make self-care a priority. So we are so bad at this. I just have to say, right? I mean, not to be judgmental, but this is something I've definitely had to learn. Mm-hmm. And, you know, over the years, and I do think it gets a little bit easier as our children age. And, but I think that making self-care a priority, people perceive that as selfish. People are like, you know, oh, I don't have time to do that. Or if I do that, it takes away from my children or my partner. And so we put ourselves last. Mm-hmm. And it's really doing a disservice to ourselves and our families when we do that, because we become depleted. We become resentful. We have less patience with our children and our partners. We're not the moms we really want to be when we're coming from that place. And so really, by, you know, focusing on self-care and incorporating some aspect of self-care every day, we're really giving ourselves and our families a gift, you know, and we're giving them that gift of us being a happier, more patient, more centered mom, right? Yeah. So, yeah. And I know a lot of people right now are probably thinking, you know, I don't have time, or I don't have money, or, you know, I can't go get massages every week, you know. And what I want to say is that self-care, it looks really different for each person. And I like to help women focus on 4 areas. So the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual, right? And so, you know, I'm just going to give a few examples so people are like, what is she talking about? Physical is easy, obviously. It could be as simple as doing exercise, getting out and taking a walk. It could be getting a massage. It could be taking a bath, right? I mean, it could be just breathing. And that is a super simple one that we can all do. I mean, seriously, in any moment, we can just take a breath, and a grounding breath. And that usually will bring us back to center so that we can deal with whatever it is that we're overwhelmed with in the moment, right? And so that is, you know, huge, huge, huge. Like, I would love for everyone to start breathing more, intentionally at moments throughout the day. And then, you know, the mental self-care, it might be just like reading a good book, you know. It could be taking a class or a workshop. You know, if you love to learn new things, it's like feeding that part of you that just has that desire. And with the internet, it's so easy now. You know, you can listen to a podcast. You can, you know. You're
listening to this summit right now.
Watching the summit right now, you know, perfect. So you're feeling, yay, congratulations. You're feeling need to, you know, have that part of you fulfilled. And so, you know, and then there's the emotional and spiritual, which the emotional could just be like talking to a close friend, you know. You're feeling overwhelmed and you just need to talk to somebody that can listen. I led my meetup yesterday, and I had women come, and they feel like for the first time they had a really safe space with other women just to come and talk about what's going on in their life. And a lot of women don't have that. They don't feel like they have that. So doing something like that for yourself can be so rewarding and can just make you feel like you matter, like you're important, and it can put you back in the saddle, so to speak. And then, the spiritual, which could be prayer, it could be meditation, it could be sitting out in nature and just connecting to the earth. And it could be, even the taking a bath or the breathing could be spiritual or emotional. It could fulfill many levels, And so there's so many ways we can take care of ourselves that people might not normally think of as self-care. So I invite everybody who's watching or listening right now to think of and maybe brainstorm and write down a few new ideas or ways of incorporating more self-care into your day. And some days it'll be easier than others. Some days you'll be like, all I can do is take this one breath and that's it. And that's okay. It's okay. So allow yourself the permission to take better care of yourself, because your family needs you to do that, and the world needs you to do that, so that you can be your best self and show up in the way that you're meant to.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for those of you who are listening and are on the Facebook group to communicate about this, post like 3 things you come up with. Give us like 3 things, and it'd be interesting to see who, what similarities and what differences, and maybe you'll give somebody else a new idea they hadn't thought of before. So like 3 things that resonate for you for self-care. Yes. And I love that you're talking about this, because it's so critical to be able to give to other people. And I remember when I first had my first kid, and I was trying to be super mom, because one of my values is being appreciated and being acknowledged. It's really important to me. And so my husband, that's not his strong suit. We read the 5 love languages, and that's like, one of those differences. And so I would overdo, like I'd get the kid to bed, and he'd be out late for work, and I would do the dishes, and I would do the cat litter, and I was doing all of this stuff. And I could have been like, you know what, honey, could you put the dishes away when you get home? I need to go to bed. Yeah. And I'm sure actually when we did finally work through that, that was one of the things that came out of it. And so I was getting a little bit more sleep, not a lot, still small baby, but a little bit more sleep. And I wasn't snapping at him as much. Yeah. I was not, losing my cool. I was so much more present. And he definitely appreciated it. I'm thinking about self-care now. I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm like, I could probably up that a little bit right now for myself too.
Yeah. So. Yes, love it.
Anyway, yeah. School year, the adjustment of everything, and kindergarten, and a lot of transition. Another key time for amping the self-care is big transitions.
Big time. I'm feeling so overwhelmed myself with everything I have scheduled, and just, it's great stuff, but it's just a lot going on. And I'm thinking, self-care. And then my birthday's coming up in 2 weeks. And so we're going to do a party, but we're going to a spa instead. And I'm just we're going away for the weekend. We're going to a spa. It's going to be a rejuvenating birthday. And I need that right now. So I'm scheduling that in.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that you said that just now about scheduling it in, because that is a big part of it for me, is I have to schedule it.
Yes.
Otherwise I won't do it.
Yes. Oh, huge. And I would say, schedule it in just like you do a doctor's appointment, and put the same value and priority on your self-care time. And you know what, even if it's like a 10-minute, go outside and sit in nature or take a walk, schedule it in, so that you are more likely to do it, and make it super important, as important as anything else in your life. It is that important. So, okay. So then the 4th thing to do is, I say, clear your plate and delegate. So this, this one is, this one's tough for a lot of us women, because just like you, that super mom complex of I can do it all, right? A lot of us, we have that. And we feel like, I can do it and I should do it. And so, I'm going to do it. And honestly, what I've come to learn is that that's also a disservice to ourselves, to our families, and to everybody else, because we're actually really good at certain things, and each one of us have unique things that we're really good at. And we should be focusing on those things that we're really good at. And yes, sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do and that we're not that good at. And, that's part of life. But to bring in our support and reinforcements and to say, you know what, it would be so helpful if I had a house helper that came in 2 days a week, that helped me with laundry, that could, help keep things organized, organize the kids' rooms or whatever it is, that just came in so that I didn't have to worry about that, and that's something people think like, oh, I can't afford that. But really, you probably can if you look at how inexpensive it is to actually do. And, if you had somebody come in for 3 hours a day, twice a week, what difference could that make in your life? So that you could focus more on self-care or focus more on your business or your passion or whatever it is. That
or
you
spend less money on allergy medicine because your house is full of dust because you haven't had time to clean. That
right?
actually happened for us.
Right? So there you go. There's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
So, let's think about like, what are the things that could really make a difference if we were to delegate them? And, the whole idea of having a VA, a virtual assistant, was like, that's one that most business owners are like, yeah, I can't afford that. If that's, I'm just starting out, whatever. But if you look at, virtual assistants and how accessible they are and how cheap some of them are, affordable, and you just had a few tasks you delegated in the beginning, and it wasn't a lot, but it was like, building your website or things that you really shouldn't be doing unless you're a professional, web designer, to really hand those over and let somebody who actually loves doing that and who's good at it, let them do it and give them that pleasure of doing it. And then you can focus on something else that's more pleasurable for you. Right.
Yeah.
So there's that, but then there's also, so I just want to make sure I'm covering all the points here. And also, yes, like what are some things you can let go of entirely, right? So I think there's certain things that we do that we maybe really don't need to be doing at all. And it fills up our time, right? So I would encourage people to make a list of like, what are my things that I have to do myself? What are things I can delegate to somebody else? And what are things I can just let go of completely that don't even need to be on my plate, right? And I think that will give a little bit more clarity and a little bit more freedom of space and time to breathe and to not feel so overwhelmed. And when we feel like we have support, okay, like this is huge. I can't talk about the support thing enough. I know we feel, like, ugh, who am I to ask for support? Or I don't want to bother them, or, but like, I am not joking. If I didn't have the type of support that I have with my family, my family's great and they've always helped me with childcare. And now I have, a virtual assistant, I have a house cleaner, I have so many different types of support built in that make my life easier. It makes it more doable for me to juggle all these things, because guess what? Like, I schedule my days around spending time with my children. I take them to school, I pick them up, and I work on my business, and I have another job too. And so my life is really full, and I have 2 stepchildren as well. And so we have a full life, and I have to be really intentional with my time and my energy and really protecting that. And I think we all should be doing that, and the sooner we learn that, the better, and the more liberated we are, and the more productive we are, and the less overwhelmed we feel. So see what you can delegate, ask for support, get the help that you need and you deserve. And, we're not meant to do it alone. We are not meant to do it alone.
I was actually thinking when you talked about the 4 areas that you support people in, I would say there's even a 5th, which is the community. There's the social. I mean, because there are all these different areas of influence in our lives, and social is a big one of them. And having people that you can turn to, and knowing that it's okay. You know, the worst thing that happens is they say, no, I can't right now.
Right.
Not about you, just what's going on for them. And then the other thing is, you know, that whole like, oh, when am I going to get them back? You know, when am I going to help them? It will happen. There will be time, pay it forward, all that stuff. That's not, if you're the one who needs help right now,
Yes.
you don't need to worry about that right now. I mean, that was something that was really big for me. I used to get really caught up in that. And, you know, it's so important to remember that that's not the concern. When you have the bandwidth, then you're the of service.
Yes.
But when you're the one who needs the support or a particular area of support, you know, we play to our gifts.
Yes.
So I love that you said all of that.
Yes. Practice the ask and practice receiving, right? The receiving. Yeah. I just want to share real quick. The other day with my daughter, who's 11, my aunt was, my daughter found this thing at my aunt's house that she loved. And my aunt was like, I want you to have it. And my daughter was like, no, I can't take that. It's, you know, it's yours. And my aunt said, no, I want you to have it. And my daughter said, oh, no, I can't. And I was there. And I said, honey, I said, the best gift you can give your aunt right now is to graciously receive, because she wants to give that to you and it brings her joy to do so. And we love to give. And we love people to receive what we have to give, right? Like, don't you feel so appreciated when you give something to somebody and they just graciously, it brings them joy and they say thank you? Like that, there's no better gift than giving that, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I shared that with her, and she said, she got the hugest smile on her face, and she said, okay, thank you. And she gave her a hug, and my aunt was so happy. And it was like such a great lesson that I think all of us can learn from and practice receiving graciously, because people love to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when we have those boundaries, as you talked about, when our boundaries are stronger, and be able to say no, that we trust other people to have their own boundaries and not say yes if they're going to resent us for it. And knowing that it's about them if they choose to do that.
Yes.
I don't want somebody worrying that I said yes and now I'm going to resent them. Like, I love to give to my friends. So, but when that's thinking, it's like, no, let's gift.
Well, it's and it's giving our power away, right? It's putting the power over there, out there with them, rather than just holding on to the center of your power. And I know a lot of people shy away from the word power because it feels like that old model, that old paradigm of like power over, and it's very masculine. But there's a new way of looking at power, and it's the power within, and it's really the connectedness to your strength, your personal strength, and your center, right? And when you come from that place of connection, you are powerful. And when you're powerful, people want to be around that. They want to be around somebody who's powerful and who's centered and who knows who they are, and it's a great place to be, because when everybody's standing in their power, it's like, amazing things happen. And so, right. So I love that. And that it really speaks to just not giving your power away to other people, and getting really clear about who you are and what you want and your values again, and setting those boundaries, and then just, sticking to them, putting it out there and sticking to it unapologetically. And, and then letting it be. And however people receive or don't receive, that's on them. That's on them. And it doesn't speak anything badly about you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I was going to say, we're just at our time, but I know it went by so fast. I looked down, I was like, oh my gosh. So, I ask for the listeners, and just to recap, if there's like 2-3 things that you'd really like this audience to come away with from this interview.
Okay. So
sorry, that came out really garbled. With head cold, it kind of muddles things. I sound like Yoda. No. So to recap, what 2-3 things would you really like our audience to come away with?
Okay. So, there was a couple more steps that I didn't share, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm offering, I'll send out my little ebook that will recap all the steps in there. So everybody will have the steps. And then I'm also offering a group coaching call so that people can get really clear about what their next best steps are, kind of getting out of that overwhelm they're in right now and kind of getting clear on their best next steps. So I will send that out. You have that.
Actually, I'll have a link for them to access all of that. So just as a reminder to everybody listening, the email that you were sent with the link for this video will also get you to the access point for getting Justine's free gift.
Yay. So, so I think the biggest takeaways, that I want to say are, really get clear on what's most important to you, first of all, and be unapologetic about it. Just like, this is important to you, and you matter, and you're important, and it's valid. And so take a stand for that. Take a stand for yourself and for what's important to you, because it's going to benefit your family. I guarantee it's going to benefit your family. And when mama's happy, everybody's happy. And I know there are probably some dads listening, and maybe some grandparents, and, caregivers, and women who are going to be moms, and all of that. And so, to everybody, I just say that your role is so important. The example that you set, what you're modeling for the children is so important. So take care of yourself first and go for your passions, go for what lights you up. Fulfill on your purpose, that thing that makes you feel like you are important, like you're here to make a difference, that you're here to give something back, and that your life is meaningful, because it is. That's what I want you to focus on and go for, and get support for that, so that you can still be a really good mama.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Justine. I have really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. I have too. It's been awesome. I thank you so much for putting together the summit. It's so important for, us just to be having these conversations and getting real, because we all struggle. We all have challenges, and we all need to know that we're not alone, and that it does get better.
Absolutely. So this concludes today's interview of Motherhood Unlimited. So thank you everyone for joining us, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for another exciting, inspirational, and helpful interview from Motherhood Unlimited. I look forward to having you join us. Bye.